Hey lovelies, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Bernie and this is Kisima, your watering well for all things faith and mental health. Thank you so much for joining me for yet another video. It has been a while and I'm super duper excited to be here in front of y'all and to be playing with my new toys. I got a ring light and so I love that the lighting is a little bit more balanced out. Before I was relying on natural light, but then now that it's getting darker earlier, yeah, it's been kind of hard to film with decent lighting. And if you go to my previous videos, you can see that sometimes the lighting was so janky. But anyway, we fixed that now and here we are. And so today I just want to come in real quick. I mean, it's a couple of days after Christmas. Not a couple, one day. One day after Christmas. So Merry Christmas to all of you and to your families. And I just wish you a wonderful new year. And so we know it is that time of year where we're all checking in around kind of what worked in 2018, what didn't, what am I looking forward to in 2019, what am I not looking forward to in 2019. But we're not going to bring that story of what we don't want in here. So part of reviewing this year and discussing next year, I'm going to start with me a little bit because of accountability. Last year, I posted this video. You're going to see the link up here on the screen, and it talked about 3 steps to attacking the new year. And some of the steps that I shared was like, 1, pick a theme. Resolutions are that much harder to stick to than a theme. If you have a theme of, let's say, consistency, I mean, it's going to show up in every area of your life, whether it's with yourself. You know, if I want to wake up early every morning, you know, consistency is going to show up there in some way. Whether it's at work, I want to be on time every single day, it's going to show up in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's with relationships, you know, I want to be I want to respond to text messages immediately when I get them and not respond in my mind, and then I'd actually do it in person. So consistency can show up in so many areas, including our businesses. You know, some of the people who are watching here, I know who you are small business owners, and part of consistency, including for me, is like even having these videos out. And so one of my themes last year was intentional, and in part of being intentional, I get to acknowledge that I've had a few breakdowns in there. Like the last time I think I posted a video, I still had black hair. Listen y'all, I went blonde, and then after going blonde, I chopped off some of the blonde, and here we are now, and I love this hairstyle so much, and it takes less time to get ready. That's besides the point. And so coming back to like what the video talked about last year, after picking a theme, we talked about, you know, finding balance. Balance looks so many different for all of us, but work-life balance is key. One of the things that I shared was self-care is part of productivity and not the other way around. Like you're not going to be productive and then try to self-care, because being productive but you haven't taken the time to refuel yourself is like forcing a car to drive on empty. You know, how much effort does it take to push the car, to force the car to move, to keep starting the engine, blah blah, versus just feed the tank and zoom, off you go. Think about yourself in the same way. If you're not refueling, rejuvenating in some way, shape, or form, being productive is going to be that much harder. And then number three was all about, I'm using my cheat sheets here, which is kind of one of my postcards. And so it says show up at 100% in everything that you do. Show up 100%. Half of the time we're so disappointed, frustrated, distracted that we don't even notice that things are passing us by. And I'm really, you know, this is an area that I get to keep working on. I've really been mindful about being mindful, meditating, being present, noticing my surroundings, shutting off my headphones, really paying attention, let's say in my commute or in the morning before I wake up, when I come back in the evening, even before Bible study. I have a tendency to be like, you know, I'm in constant communication with God, and so I could jump right in, like, oh God, by the way, I forgot this, and this. But it's also like, oh my gosh, like the great I am is here with me. Let me honor that. Let me sit with how grand that concept is. And so that was one of the things last year that I shared in that video. And so just in checking in, like, how were you this year? How did you show up this year? What was your theme for 2018? What was like your work-life balance looking like for 2018? You know, and then review what worked. What helped you stay consistent? Was it accountability? Was it lists? Was it kind of watching YouTube or videos such as this one? Was it professional development classes, reading books, journaling, right? Like, what made you stay accountable to that, and how can you add that and reinforce that in the upcoming new year? And then even with the theme, like, what were you working on? Was it like consistency? Was it in being in integrity? Was it in praying more? Was it in journaling a lot more? Was it in advancing in your career? Was it in your fitness goals? Whatever the case was, like, what was your theme for last year? How did you do? How did you stay checked in with that? Like, did you ground yourself daily in some kind of statement like, today's a great day and I get to stay consistent throughout the day? Like, you know, what worked for you and what didn't work, and how, moving now into 2019, can you bring that with you, where you're like, okay, clearly, like, this was the goal, maybe I came up this short of it, what's it gonna take to bridge that gap? And then get to work and figuring out what that's gonna look like for 2019, because it's so easy to jump into like, this is the goal, this is the goal, this is the goal, you know, hustle, 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 you know, make my money, change my money talk, blah, 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 blah. Why? Why does it matter at all? And why this year, out of all the other years behind you, how does it get to happen this year and you don't get to repeat the same pattern that has gotten you where you are today, still not achieving that goal? Or if it's on the flip side where it's like, oh my gosh, this year I blew my own mind and I was like, man, like shooting at 100% through and through. All right, how do you like take that with you into the next year, and how do you keep building onto that and dreaming bigger and working, you know, smarter than you did last year versus working harder? You know, that's one of the things that came up this year at our second A Whole You conference. To all the people who were there, thank you, thank you, thank you. That could not have happened without you. And to all the panelists, my goodness, we had a panel of, well, 2 panels of 14 people. 14, I mean, wise, integrous, knowledgeable, loving, authentic speakers who were coming to talk about every area related to like faith, mental health, whether it was gambling, substance use and abuse, you know, eating disorders, psychosis, mood-related disorder, personality disorders, financial integrity and goals. You know, one of the speakers shared about how we don't tend to think about this, but when a family member passes away and, you know, funeral costs become a burden and a new area for you to be dead, how it complicates the mourning process, you know what I mean? And how it complicates your ability to have like generational wealth. And I mean, it blew my mind, something that I hadn't thought about like ever. We talked about the impact of trauma on your, you know, your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, your relationships. You know, we had an entire panel of 10 people focused on relationships. And man, it was like incredible to hear the personal stories, but also to hear like trained experts in the field of like marriage and family therapy and relationship coaching, you know, speak about the insights about their own personal journeys and about the clients that they work with and what has been helpful around living authentically in your story, acknowledging your pain, acknowledging the hurt that you've experienced and the betrayals, and how, you know, you're not just a victim, but it can turn into a survivor story, and what practical tools and steps get to happen, or you can access to make that happen. And so one of the practical tools for us, it was the giveaway of giving away 5 free therapy sessions. Now y'all, Bianca and I talked about this and I already shared my frustration with her about it. Here we are, giving y'all free life-changing opportunities, and I think we have like less than a handful of people actually get into the drawing. Like, for anyone who's watching this, like, were you one of the people who submitted? And if not, why did you count yourself out? Why didn't you think yourself worthy of getting free therapy sessions? Let me tell you what, right? I work with students and clients all the time who are like, well, you know, somebody else is going through a harder issue than me. I was like, yeah, and they get to get therapy. Tell them about it, but also submit your own story. Why does what you're going through matter less than what somebody else is going through? Your story and their story are stories nonetheless. Your struggles and their struggles, there isn't big struggle, small struggle. Struggle is struggle. I was the keynote speaker for the Whole You conference, and that was part of my my keynote address. It was, the struggle is real for everyone, and there are no layers to struggle. Struggle is struggle. And so what are some of the struggles that happen to us and we have zero control over? What are some of the struggles that we choose, like staying where we are, and when an opportunity like getting free therapy sessions comes up, we don't submit our name? Why? So going into 2019, that's one of the things to think about. Like, how can you stop counting yourself out? How can you choose into you? How can you make choices that serve you without that internal story of like, oh, I'm worthy, not worthy, I'm deserving, not deserving? Listen to me. If it works to serve you and the mission and purpose you have in life, and if it counts around like the worthiness that God created you with, count yourself in. What's the worst that could happen? You find yourself exactly where you are, right? But what if you're one of the people who are chosen for the 5-3 therapy sessions? Like, just think about what kind of breakthroughs, what kind of insights and understanding you can get about yourself, about things that even work, right? One of the things that I run into a lot of times with clients is like, well, it's not that bad. So, I came in for this one-time therapy session and that's that. But it's like, if your life is good, why can't it be great? And if your life is great, why can't it be amazing? And if it's amazing, why don't you want it to be extraordinary? And if it's extraordinary, why don't you want it to be exceedingly and above all you can ask or imagine? Like the Bible says in Ephesians 3:20. Why? Why can't you be the one to get that kind of life? Like, I'm so passionate, like I'm literally shaking in the chair. But therapy is not, we don't wait until it's in crisis mode and then try to scramble, right? Like, we act now in order to figure out what barriers, like what roadblocks do I need to set up in my life so that it never gets to crisis, ever, and that I keep chasing for the abundant life that we are all created to experience. But before I get preachy, y'all, I'm just here to catch up on that, talking about like the videos I was already set up before around 3 tips around going into the new year that I've just reiterated a little bit. You can definitely watch that video. And doing your year in review. And so as part of doing your year in review, I constructed this workbook, and I was gonna use it for people who worked privately with me around any kind of coaching or consultation. But you know what? Like, I just feel led to be generous and to offer it. And so below you're gonna see a link. It's gonna link you to just put in your email address, and then I'll send that workbook to you. And my invitation for you is, again, choosing you and not counting yourself out. Take time to sit down with the workbook, right? It just starts off with what do you want and why, right? Like, a lot of times when we connect to our why, the how gets clearer. If I'm connected to like, Bernie, there are people waiting for your videos, it gets clear to like, girl, get that ring light. Figure out a video and talk about what breakdowns you've had and encourage people in how to kind of acknowledge it and to accept it, and then to just kind of jump back on the bandwagon and keep going while acknowledging like it happens to me too. The same thing around like topics. Like, sometimes I get really stuck on the what, like, oh, what topic versus like just what is coming up as a theme for yourself. Talk about that. And for me, it was in going into 2019. Every year, yes, I've had a theme, I think since like 2013. I've had a theme every single year, and so we're going on to 5 years. But even with having themes, like throughout the year, like, I don't remember checking in 2014 around like what did work in 2013, and in 2015 what did work in 2014. And so my invitation to you is to sit down and be like, what didn't work this year to get you to the goal you're looking for? What did work this year? How can you repeat those things that worked? And after acknowledging what didn't work, what new habits, patterns, tools, skills do you need to implement into your day-to-day so that it does start working out for you, okay? And after all is said and done, click on the link below, put in your email, get this here workbook, and then tell me all about like what your goals are and how you are going to create an accountability system for yourself. I have an accountability system, and when I tell you they have been chasing me down about this video, man, oh man, there was no way today that I wasn't going to get up and beat my face and show up here today to talk to you all about this video. And so, going back to, you weren't created to be mediocre. Choose into you, okay? So download that workbook, start working on it, and when it's all said and done, just take time to be present with like, wow, what a time it is to be alive. Like how some people haven't even made it this far. Yeah, I just got news this morning that a close friend of mine just passed away from cancer. And so even in me practicing gratitude for the life that I am blessed to live, what can we do differently? And how can we keep counting ourselves in? And how can we trust that the God we serve is great enough to keep us from falling, to order our steps, to lead us and guide us through His precious Holy Spirit who lives within us. And so get to working, write a vision, make it plain, and have yourself a wonderful Christmas season and a Happy New Year. Until next time, later lovelies, bye.